he had carried a Bible around with him, as grandchildren have told me, in his pocket wherever he went, and in spare moments while riding in the train or whatever, he would read the Bible. He read a lot, read many things, but he was a student of the Bible. He knew it backwards and forwards. He could quote from it, sometimes in Latin, sometimes in German, sometimes in other languages, in Greek. He was steeped in the Bible, and somehow he had to say something about it. And he had to say something that would be so different from anything anybody else has ever said about it, very creative, but very personal. It's what he really thought. And he didn't pull any punches. He simply let it all come out. Now, whether he edited his original raw text or not, I don't know, but not very much, most likely. And he writes in a brief letter to Aniela Jaffe, for instance, in May 29th, 1951. He's out at Bowlingen at his retreat up on the upper lake of Lake Zurich. He writes, so it goes all the time, dear Aniela, so it goes all the time. Memories rise up and disappear again as it suits them. So he's kind of watching his memories. In this way, I have landed the great whale, he says. In this way, I have landed the great whale. I mean, answer to Job. I can't say I have finally digested this tour de force of the unconscious. It still goes on rumbling a bit, rather like an earthquake. That's the way it came to him. It was a kind of spontaneous writing, but based on years and years of reflection and thought. God looks down on him from heaven, and he sees what a righteous man he is. But a figure called Satan comes along, and Satan is a messenger of God, a spy of God. He goes up and down in the world, spies out what's going on, and brings the messages back to God. Here you see a picture of him swooping up into the heavenly kingdom. There is God on his throne, and Satan, very energetic, very active. You can see him running like an athlete, coming up and challenging God about Job. And he says, oh yes, Job's a very fine man. Of course he isn't, because you bless him so much. But take away your blessings. Test him. See if he doesn't stop being such a righteous man. See if he doesn't end up cursing you and turning his back to you. Stop giving him such an easy life. So Jung says about this, well, this is God's doubting thought about Job. And God, Yahweh, gives in to Satan and says, okay, you can test him. So take away everything that he has, but spare his life. Don't take away his life, and we'll see what happens. So Satan is set loose, and lo and behold, bad news starts to arrive. There's Job and his wife. The messenger comes and says, all your children were at a party and were killed in a terrible accident. Not one is left alive. And another messenger comes and says, all your cattle have died, all your sheep have died. On and on it goes until Job has nothing left. What does Jung do with this story? He's scathing against God, who fell for this tempting thought, this doubting thought of Satan. He accuses God of being unreliable, unstable, an unintegrated personality. He gives him a psychiatric diagnosis. We would say today a borderline personality disorder. He's unintegrated. He falls into rages, and then Jung goes back and looks at earlier evidence of this in the Old Testament, where Yahweh would get very angry at his people, sometimes justified, sometimes not justified, break his promises. There passages that Jung quotes from the Psalms and from other sources that indicate that Yahweh was not a steady, as steady as he would like himself to appear. And what Jung says about Yahweh is that unlike other gods, unlike Greek gods, or certainly in the Greek pantheon, maybe not so much in the Indian, some other mythologies, but this God seems to be very interested in doing something with his people. He chooses them. He relates to them. He gets into a covenant with them. Now, he's not a very reliable partner in that covenant. Either that or he can't do what he promises. Either he isn't omnipotent or he's not omniscient, as he claims. And the problem with the incarnation in the New Testament, as Jung saw it, was that it remains too mythological. It stays off the ground. It's too ideal. The Virgin Mary is herself virgin born, so that the theoreticians, the thinkers who elaborated the theology of Christianity wanted to maintain at all costs the purity, the innocence, the absence of sin in any fashion whatsoever from the figure of Christ, so that Christ would be a perfect second Adam. Adam was without sin in the Garden of Eden. Christ is the second Adam. And in order to be that, he has to be created in a way that does not infect him with original sin, the sin of Adam. Adam fell out of the Garden of Eden, had to leave. We're all tainted with original sin as a result of that. That's a theological message. We're fallible, we're at fault, we do wrong, we're corrupt and corruptible. And Jung felt it would have been better if the incarnation had also shown those features in Christ. In other words, it touches on